Minding our P's and Q's. That's what we started with the first week. We started with that. And we're doing this not in a scolding way, or in a way that we have been told that we need to act, but in a way to lift us into a greater experience of living life. Living life with meaning and with magic and miracles, simply because I love those two words, magic and miracles. They're very uplifting. They're very empowering words. So specifically, we are being mindful, and we're going to carry this topic into next month before we begin our Christmas theme. So we started the first week on prayer, to practice prayer. If you remember, we honor all forms of prayer. There's no wrong way of praying, unless you're in practitioner class and you learn the 5 steps exactly, but there is no wrong way of praying. So it's honoring everyone's faith and everyone's right to choose to pray in any way that they feel that they are moved to pray. And today, pursue play. So today's all about joy. Yay! Today's all about joy, one of my favorite subjects. And next week, being Thanksgiving weekend, I believe it's the weekend before, not the weekend after, right? Before, okay. So it's going to be being mindful to possess a grateful heart. So that's what we're going to be talking about right before our potluck, which I know, because we love food. We love good food, and we have good food here. So we're going to be having that right before our Thanksgiving feast, which is also our 3rd anniversary. And then to quicken our pure potential, to power up positive thinking. That's going to be the first week in December. So if you were here for my whole talk on prayer, you may remember that I said we were going to do a mindful practice, which we've been doing each week. So just being mindful as we move into the idea of playing. Playing is a spiritual practice, a spiritual idea. So we are going to use play as that, as being mindful when we are praying. We'll get into that. So why would I say that to pursue play is vital to living a life in peace and power? Why would I say that it should be looked at as a spiritual practice? And it might seem like we don't usually hear about play as a spiritual practice. But I am saying today it is a most definite spiritual practice that I think all of us, I encourage all of us to participate, and you don't even have to pursue, even though it says pursue, participate in more actively. So let's think about it for a moment. When we are at play, when we are having fun in a mindful way, which means being fully present to the moment where you are engaged in that fun activity, you know, what is going on inside of us? Are we feeling the happiness? Are we feeling the well-being? Are we feeling the energy and the childlikeness of just being? Just being in that place of laughter, of joy. It's energetic yet relaxed. There's no place for worries in that moment. This is the play moment. We don't worry when we're playing because we're filled with happiness. You know you cannot hold two polar opposites at the same time. It's impossible. So I encourage all of us then to engage in mindful play and let it be spontaneous, or it can be planned, whatever it is. But usually laughter is spontaneous. You can't plan. You can't put that in your planner. Well, I think I'll laugh at exactly 10. We can. We are going to actually have my good friend, Reverend Julie Fisher, here in January to give us a workshop on laughing yoga. So it's going to be I haven't experienced that, so that's going to be pretty cool. We're going to do a lot of laughter and playing starting the new year off. That's a good way to start it up. But do you see the similarities then between these qualities and your divine nature? Those are natural, inherent qualities. Joy is our natural, inherent quality. Being joyful is really within us, and we come in joy. We come in joy. So in the Bhagavad Gita, we are told that the full nature of God is joy, and that we are the enjoyers. So that's who we are. We are the enjoyers. enjoying a life, a rich life of fun, of good times, of celebration. Why not? Of partying. That's what I like to say. Let's party. I consider our Sunday services a party.
That's right.
It's a spiritual party celebrating God. We're celebrating that light of God that is shining and radiating back to each of us through each other. That's why we're unified. Now look at the universe. Look at the universe and the creative process that we talk about of the universal work. There's a natural law of creation, which we call the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect. But it's a law of creation. We are creating depending on what messages that we consistently give the law. So what do you think the message is when we are laughing, when we are filled with joy, when we're happy? What do you think that high vibration is giving us back? More of the same. More of the same. It's the way it works. Choices and consequences. Yeah? Law and, cause and effect. And the cause, this case being, I choose to laugh. I choose to enjoy, be an enjoyer of life. So, this is what happens when we plant these messages of joy, of laughter, of happiness and imagination and freedom into the law. Too often we think we have to finish the work. Get through the hard times, get all that stuff out of the way, get what needs to be done finished before we can really enjoy life. Some later time maybe, we'll have time to play. We'll have time to have a good time. But first I gotta do all this stuff, and I gotta get through this worry. I gotta get through this situation. I am posing and offering that we can intentionally set our minds to play while these things are going on. And it will, because these things truly are, even though they feel so real, they truly are illusionary. They are just circumstances, experiences. They are not the absolute truth. Joy is the absolute truth. Spontaneity is the absolute truth. Laughter is the absolute truth. Those are the things that we want to hold into our consciousness.
Amen.
Amen is right. Amen.
Yeah.
But think about this. Have you ever been, this is a good analogy. Have you ever been driving your car and the light on the dashboard came on signifying low on oil, low oil pressure? So, you don't have to answer that. But few of us have. And have you ever made the decision not to stop right then and there because you're only like about 10 miles away from the gas station or wherever you're going, and you'll get it then. You're not going to stop here because you're going to make it. I'm going to make it. I'm sure I'm going to make it. A few more miles. Well, have you ever pushed it like that, only to roll into the garage and being told that the oil ran dry and all the parts had rubbed against each other, and because there was no oil to lubricate it, and so the engine burned itself out. Sometimes these things can happen, you know? It's really good. And maybe this car needs a complete overhauling. Great analogy, because all too often we do the same thing to ourselves. We do the same thing to ourselves that we do to our cars. We see the warning signal, we're all aware of it. Man, am I stressed out, but I'm going to keep on pushing. I'm going to keep on pushing, right? But we think we can go a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further, and sometimes we think that we are making it, but we're really not. We're really not, because sometimes we feel ourselves crash and burn, and we are in the need then for a complete overhaul. You ever feel that way a little bit?
Yep.
Yes. So the key is to turn to the place of play, of laughter, of happiness, before we get to the place of crash and burn. Because then it's so much harder to get out of that kind of state. And so we need to replenish, as the car, the oil before we get to the journey being finished. And what's the journey being finished? Well, I'm going to keep putting it off. I'm going to put it off. I'll hang out with all my friends and have a good time, after I get all this work done. If we do that long enough, the journey of this human experience is over, and we never got to it. We never got to really enjoy life. I am saying we can enjoy life. I don't care what is going on. We can still enjoy life. And the very appropriate Bible verse is the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. In fact, the Bible, if you read parts of the Bible, repeatedly emphasizes the importance of maintaining a sense of lightheartedness, joy and humor. In the book of Ecclesiastes, we are reminded that there is a time to laugh as well as a time to cry. There is a time, and I am just encouraging us to consciously make that time. And it's fascinating, really, that the Bible mentions over 90 times. It has over 90 references to joy, So here are just a few, just so you can soak these in. This is the day that the Lord hath made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Let the rivers clap their hands, and the hills be joyful together. All who seek for God shall live in joy. Everlasting joy shall be upon their heads. They shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away. And from the teachings of Master Teacher Jesus, we read, these things I have spoken to you, that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be full. Feel the joy. Joy is a spiritual practice. Commenting on Jesus' teachings on joy, New Thought writer Eric Butterworth, who we love, writes, when Jesus tells us, this is Eric Butterworth, when Jesus tells us to rejoice and be of good cheer, he was pointing to a dynamic truth. The potential for rejoicing is already within us. Joy is a spiritual capacity, the unborn possibility of abundant living. And it is our privilege and responsibility to release it. Who's going to release your joy for you? It's our privilege and our responsibility to release it. Do you have a playful attitude about life? Are you all serious all the time? About yourself? Do you take yourself so seriously? Ernest Holmes, he writes, he's founder of religious science, he writes that he took his work very seriously, but not himself. So that's good for us. We take the things that we need to take, we take them with that sense of responsibility. But lighten up on who we are. Like let the ego have a little break, a little rest. It's not that important. Course in Miracles, would you rather be right or happy? Yeah? Lighten up. One person who took himself lightly was Yogi Berra. And he has an autobiographical book, the Yogi book, subtitled, I Really Didn't Say Everything I Said. And so here are just a couple. Of his sentences, which are his one-liners. So he says, I was giving Joe directions from New York to Montclair once, and to a house in Montclair once, and I said, when you come to the fork in the road, take it. I actually was driving yesterday with a group of people. I wasn't driving, I was a passenger, and I was repeating the joke, and it's like silence. I was receiving the key to New York City on a miserable, hot and humid day, he says. Mayor Lindsay's wife, Mary, commented on how cool I looked. And I replied, you don't look so hot yourself. How about this one? Always go to other people's funerals, or else they won't go to yours. Never answer an anonymous letter. These are very, very deep. You've got to be careful if you don't know. You've got to be careful if you don't know where you're going, because you might not get there. I'm from England, and our sense of humor is a little different, so some of these are, I have to really think about them, but those brilliant minds out there get it. I don't know where we are going, but I'm sure we're making good time. Actually, I've used that a few times myself. Like, we're getting there. I know it. I feel it. We're almost there. We're doing great. And the great thing is, the person believes you. This one's for Barry, because he's playing golf today. He's sleeping right now, but we'll wake him up. Golf for Barry. Playing golf one day, I started to complain, this is Yogi Berra, about my shot was going to go into the water. And my friend Kevin Carroll said, "Come on, Yogi, don't think like that. Think positively." He replied, "Okay, I'm positive my shot is going in." So we are seeing more and more evidence. This is so true. We are seeing more and more evidence that's being documented scientifically in the relationship between joy and physical healing. But it isn't a new concept. It's been going on forever. We as human beings, we just haven't realized that that whole sense of humor, that laughter, that uplifting feeling can heal our physical body. So in fact, King Solomon gave us one of the earliest recorded accounts regarding the healing power of joy and laughter when he wrote at Proverbs, "A merry heart makes the body healthy, but a broken spirit dries up the bones." In the 1300s, surgeon Henry de Monville reportedly told jokes to his patients in the recovery room. In the 1600s, educator Richard Mulcater recommended laughter for those suffering from head colds. Throughout the centuries, we've had court jesters. The purpose of the court jesters was to alleviate the heaviness that the royals felt through laughter. That was the whole point of them, to make people laugh, so the stress level would go down. Perhaps the most insightful recording, this is a nice story, of the benefit of laughter in healing came from Norman Cousins in his book, Anatomy of an Illness as Perceived by the Patient. In 1964, Dr. Cousins was diagnosed with a crippling and extremely painful inflammation of his body. And his physician's assistant checked out that hospital, he took him with him to a hotel. And in that hotel, he utilized as many natural resources as he could to treat his condition. His experience became a controlled study in pain management and in overall healing. Dr. Cousins decided to experiment with laughter, to create a positive factor in altering his body's chemistry to be in a healing mode. Dr. Cousins systematically watched candid camera episodes and Marx Brothers films consistently, and all kinds of read books that were really all about laughter, and he later wrote, "I made the Joyce discovery that 10 minutes of genuine belly laughter had an anesthetic effect and would give me at least 2 hours of pain-free sleep." He recovered from his condition. This is a true story. He recovered from his condition, and he spent the next 20 years teaching about the merits of laughter in physical healing. We don't laugh a lot when we're in pain, but you may recall the movie, The Secret. Remember in there was a woman who sat with her husband. She was diagnosed with breast cancer and given a short time to live, and she was in a lot of pain. And they sat in front of a TV and watched all these silly, ridiculous movies and laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed, and she cured herself. That was in The Secret. I know many people have heard about that. Humor, laughter play. These heal the body. They heal the mind, they heal the spirit, they heal the body. Remember, nothing's separate. It's all oneness. We are all one. Our mind, body, spirit, emotions, all of it. It's all connected. It's as simple as that. And Ernest Holmes wrote, if we wish to come to spirit for the healing of our wounds, let us come with spontaneous joy, for the spirit is joy. So as we heal, here I am, a living example. As we heal, let's do it in joy. Let's do it in laughter and lightness. So I am well aware, very well aware, that life is filled with a lot of ups and downs, ins and outs, suffering, difficult times. We all have difficult times. Everybody does. You can either laugh or cry. It always comes to that point of choice. You can either laugh about it or you can cry about it. There's a time in there where we can insert a little levity into what we are going through. When we laugh, we lay down our burdens. We lay them down, at least for a moment, a couple of moments, to just give ourselves a break, a rest from all the stuff that's going on. And we already talked about the role that this plays in the creative process. We're creating more joyful and easier ways. If we're going through a really difficult time and we take a moment to, or we hang out with people who are funny, who are like lighthearted, you know, even like-minded, but they don't even have to be like-minded, as long as they're funny and joyful and fun to be with. It causes all kinds of things to come back into our life, and the healing of a difficult time will not be as long. And that, I guarantee, that's the truth, as long as we're open to that. Could it be when Jesus said, except ye become as little children, you shall not enter the kingdom of heaven? We've all heard that. Could it be that this is what he had in mind? Returning to that childlike state of being that we came in? I'm not denying that that pain and the suffering do exist. They exist. But have you ever noticed, have you ever been, I know Stephen has, he's got like a whole bunch of little kids running around his house, but have you ever noticed a little child when they fall down and hurt themselves? They cry for a minute or 2 minutes, you know, depending on how bad it is, but then they get right up and they start to do what? Play. They you know, give off their fussingness and whatever it is, but they don't dwell on it. They go right back to play. Children never stop playing. They just never stop playing. They're amazing. A child is born with the enthusiasm for life. You can see it in them. Every little object becomes a great adventure. You watch it. You learn from that. We all came in like that. Believe it? We all came in like that. Sometimes it doesn't feel that way now, but we did. So it's because it's natural. It's inherent in our nature to be filled with joy, curiosity, enthusiasm. That's our natural state. Might not be our normal, but it's our natural state. It's inherent to our nature. So Ernest Holmes wrote, how we long for a return of that simple trust in life which children have. In their minds there are no doubts. They have not yet been told that they are sinners, destitute of divine guidance and spiritual life. The life of a child is lived in natural goodness. God is natural goodness. The prison walls of false experience soon build themselves into barriers shutting out the light, and the child grows into a man or a woman, often losing his or her sense of that inner guide to still home, leading his footsteps awry. We must return to the way we came as little children who know that life is good and to be trusted. And I love that last line. Oh, I didn't read it. You gotta laugh. Give me a laugh on that one. That was a natural joke. That's my kind of humor. So I'll read it. This is it. We must return to the way we came as little children who know that life is good and to be trusted. That's the line. We need to keep returning to that all of the time. Do we trust? Do we trust that the Lord is working for our good? that God has our back? Do we trust that knowing? Do we really trust it? And that there is unborn possibilities for laughter in our lives. We never know when it's going to occur, and it feels good. So there is a joy potential in every person. There is a light within every person. That is absolute truth. Even when you can't see it, it's there all the time. I was challenged a little bit this week about that. And it's still there. Might not see it. So I think it is a privilege, as I read, it's a privilege and a responsibility for all of us to really make time for play, for having a really good time in life. And when we enlighten up, we enlighten those around us to enlighten up. So where we are helping, this is healing. We are helping to heal the planet in this way, through play. That's why it's an important spiritual practice. I encourage you to take time out. Do it however you need to do it, to take out, to make time. Make time, look how busy we all are. Make time to have a good time. Know you're going to be with people, friends, that you're going to, you're going to have a good time with. So make that a priority. Make that a priority. Enjoy life. Do silly things. Laugh out loud. Just who cares? It's all about lightening up and having a good time. That's our spiritual practice for this week, and so it is.